We don't want to cry. We don't want to be angry. We don't want to have to look at the hurt. We don't want to be babies about it. We want to be stoic and we want to be able to control everything. Most of us have spent a lifetime trying to be stoic or control or to change, and we're not going to do it under our own steam.
Hey guys, it's Nancy and welcome to the She Laughs podcast. Sit down with me while I chat and get personal with some insanely cool women as they share their smarts and their hearts. God gave us each unique gifts and we got to use them. Inside each one of us is a cool girl. So buckle up. Let's get vulnerable. Let's get real and let's laugh. Hi guys, welcome back to the She Laughs podcast, and I'm super excited to have with us today Theresa Moore. You may have seen her on a previous podcast, and we love her so much, and the response has been so great that she is back, and she is going to be a regular guest, so we are very excited about that. And today we are going to be talking about why we do what we do. And Theresa, as y'all know, is a mental health therapist, and she believes that human beings are called to know themselves before they know others. Oftentimes, we'll walk away from a conversation saying to ourselves, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? And she believes that understanding ourselves helps bring people together and not pull them apart. So, Theresa, this is an exciting topic to dig into. Thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, I'm glad to be back. I'm looking forward to today.
Yeah, we love having you here. So let's kind of dive into that about why we do what we do is important to understand ourselves and the why.
Okay. It's a question that I think we ask often. How did I get here? Didn't mean to end up here. That's not what I really wanted to say. Didn't know I was going to get into an argument. And when we hear ourselves saying things like that, it indicates that we really aren't quite sure where all this came from. And it's pretty predictable once you have the foundation and you understand sort of how we develop as human beings. Houses have foundations. They have different kinds of foundations, but you don't build one that is even going to be able to keep the four walls up without it, right? Yeah. It's the same thing, but that's a common element is a foundation. Same thing with the car. Got to have some kind of energy that moves it forward. Common element, no matter whether you have a Mercedes or a Ford, right?
Okay, right.
So human beings are wired for relationship. And there are many kinds of relationships, but we need it. We have to have it to survive, to thrive, to belong on this earth. So relationships are really based on some very foundational things. I think I said that last time when I talked about connection and presence.
Right.
And so knowing what those basic blocks are help us to make choices as adults to, decide what kind of relationship we're going to have with this person. And when it's not working the way we want it or thought it would, it's really important to stop and look in the mirror. It's easy to look across the desk. It's easy to say, well, if you hadn't asked me, then I wouldn't have. But it's the I did that I need to know. Okay. So pointing at somebody else is our first defense, but it doesn't work. We don't get very far.
So are you saying we cannot control what the other person says or does, right, but what we can do is understand ourselves and our response to that and how we could respond better, right? That
or just differently even? Oh, better is subjective. What's better to you may not be better to me,
Okay, right.
But we have choice. And the reason I'm giving sort of the examples of what happens is because those can be earmarks to your own understanding of, okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe I need to ask. Maybe I need to reach out. Maybe I need to read a book. It's that kind of thing. So it's when we find ourselves asking those questions that there's something inside of us that's asking for some information solutions and not to ignore it. Okay. That's basically why I put that up there. So once your curiosity is piqued, which of course is my number one, um, curiosity is what we need about anything. It saves us from being very black and white. It saves us from being judgmental. We're open to looking at things from different perspectives when we're curious. But when we're not curious, it has to be a particular way. And of course, that gets us all into all kinds of trouble. But relationships are made up of thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. Okay,
Okay.
and if you think about that, child development, of course, is where all this begins at
Mm,
birth, probably before, and we have so much research now available on this. But it starts with the physical. Infants cry when they're wet, cold, too hot, hungry, and the adult hopefully is learning what those cries mean. Because if you respond to a cry that's pain and you give them food, it's not going to be helpful. So
okay.
most of the time, parents have a sense about them of what those cries mean. And the child, the infant, has those physical sensations that actually communicate, you need to cry. We need something. That does not change for the adult, but by the time we're adult, usually we've been socialized out of quite a bit of that. And we are not very aware of physical sensations being a means of communication. So that's one area.
Okay.
The next for development is
A
feelings.
question about that real quick. Can I ask you a question about that real quick? So
Of
you were
course.
saying curiosity is important, right?
Hmm.
Is that the same as self-awareness? Because you have to have self-awareness, right, to understand that maybe you're playing a part in the interaction that may not be going like you want it to, or is that you have to have curiosity to be self-aware, or
Oh,
where
that's
what
a
is
really good question. Um, I think that you can be aware. I think we're self aware at many different levels. I don't think we would survive beyond elementary school if we weren't. Okay, so it's self awareness, and young children, all they have is the self. They don't have an executive function that can compare, contrast, discern, judge, make choices. It's just not present. And so everything that the child is learning is through the eyes and voice of the adults they're around. Now, yeah, this is really important because it's usually our families, right? Or whatever our families look like. Other adults when you go to school, some aunts and uncles and grandparents if they live close by. But the parents that you're born to are really what you are wired to look at. But if they're not available, you'll look someplace else because it's through their eyes that we decide who we are and if we're valuable and if our needs are going to be met or not. And it is the consistent, predictable, protective mechanism that parents really it's a skill, and whether or not you value this child, and when I say value, I mean that you value the being, not what it does for you. Okay. And then, of course, without judgment. Because the minute we start judging now, it's because we're feeling uncomfortable. So, all of that to say, that is how a child begins to learn about feelings, and the words that go with it come from parents. It's like a language. If you had not spoken English to your sons, they would not have learned English. I don't know what they would have learned.
Right, right.
Because it's the parents' vocabulary, it's the parents' tone of voice, accent, everything that we learn how to speak and use words. So it's the same way with feelings. When a 2-year-old is pitching a fit and you say, "What are you feeling?" They're not going to tell you angry. It's your job to reflect that. You're really upset, or you seem really angry or sad or hurt or scared, and they start putting that together. Okay?
Okay.
Then the last one are the thoughts, the things that we learn that we believe about ourselves. There's a combination of things that are helpful and not helpful. And the ones that are positive, of course, coming from a parent who feels confident and secure and have their needs met. They're not feeling depleted in any area. They are able to balance things. That's the ideal. The ones where it's not as ideal, the child walks away feeling like there are a lot of things that they didn't do right or that they were lacking, not smart enough, not happy enough, not enough to make the parents give them their need. So
Okay.
that interaction right there is really part of what keeps us looking for answers. Because by the time we're in junior high school, these things are not in our awareness like you and I are talking about right now. That's what the curiosity is if I'm looking to understand how people work, I promise you I'm going to be one of those people. I want to know how I work.
Right.
But if I am really avoidant and I learn to ignore a lot of my feelings or thoughts or behavior or anything to protect myself, then it's going to take me a lot longer to become self reflective. And there's going to be a lot more disruption. If I have a curiosity, it will probably be something that I do not express because it's threatening to risk. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
So, yes. So if somebody, so there were three or two. I have curiosity and thoughts. Did I miss one?
Oh, no, yeah, no, body was first. The
Oh,
physical sensation is the first system that we are in tune with. And that most of the time, little kids tell you, I have a stomach ache, I have a headache, the older they get, though, sometimes we have socialized out of them really trusting that they're telling you the truth. For example, my daughter used to get stomach aches in second grade and first grade, first and second grade. Now, guess what? That is when her father and I were at our highest stress level. And we separated. I got sick. I mean, there were a whole lot of things. So, unless you understand that stomach aches can be physical and emotional, you're going to miss some things. You start with physical. That's what they know. They know that the physical sensation of a hurting stomach is something that you speak about.
right, right,
But a
right,
lot of, my tendency was to say, are you sure? Because you aren't running a fever. You run down that list of things that parents do. I think you need to go to school, right?
right.
But when it continues to be part of the conversation, you have to start looking at other alternatives. And emotion is the second one, feelings,
Okay.
because feelings have a huge impact on our physical well-being
Golly,
and
they do.
health.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, feelings are an information highway, I call it, for me.
Love that.
Yeah,
I love
information
that.
highway. Because if I'm scared, I may not know yet what I'm sitting in this room. There's absolutely nothing threatening me. There is, I'm comfortable. I'm familiar with all of it. But if I'm nervous about sitting here and talking about stuff and all this, then I can trip myself up because the fear becomes greater than my knowledge and experience.
Okay.
And then I go, what the heck happened?
Right.
Right? Okay. So emotions can be very, very helpful. in terms of answering the questions of why the heck did I do that? Um, and also to let you know at any given point that if there's nothing in your environment creating this, then now here's the third one, Nancy, thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
Because as a child, I cannot look at my parents and say, "Oh, I guess mom's just having a bad hair day." She's just because she's yelling at me and she's blaming me, and I didn't do this and I didn't. No, that if this is a pattern, and I'm going to underline that, if this is a pattern, because if it happens one time, maybe even two or three over the course of years here, months, it's not a pattern. It's when it's consistent enough that that is the usual response.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Right.
That's when it becomes a belief. I believe as the child that I am not enough, that I'm a mistake, that I am, I. Do you hear that? I am. That's all they have.
Yes.
I am standing here and I thought I was being fun or funny or loving, and my mother is not happy. So this is not what I want to continue. I must be making a mistake. Then it becomes I am a mistake. And this is huge because the I am is all the child can do. And the parent usually is not self aware enough to stop, come back and say, you know, it was not a good day for me. It had nothing to do with you. I'm so sorry. You're sweet. You were kind. And that would repair. Okay. But that's learned,
Right.
and most of us,
But that's not going to repair it if it is a
oh
consistent.
no, that's correct. If I say I'm sorry and
Right.
I don't change anything as the adult, I am now telling you, you cannot trust me. That's what I'm teaching is my words say one thing and my behavior does another. It's very confusing.
So what does that do to the child if they can't trust you? Do they still think I am not enough, or do they
Oh
think
yeah.
they can't trust others,
Yeah, they
or
don't
what?
realize they can't trust. See, you have to look back. The only reason for you can get stuck in history. Okay. You can spend a lifetime in therapy or reading books or whatever in your history. Oh, my history was dysfunctional. Okay. Or I lost my dad and I didn't have a good one, or, alcoholism, or you can get stuck in that milieu of stuff and never quite get to where you can move forward, which is to me the magic of being an adult. That you
Okay.
have choice, that you can make decisions differently, that you can surround yourself with different kinds of people. So history is a learning tool. And
Okay.
that really is what this is about is, and I can even say in school, you have to learn how to add and subtract before you learn how to divide and multiply. Okay.
Yes.
So it's everything we do has a process of learning that is block building.
Okay. So
What we're talking about today, what?
someone's not necessarily stuck in their history. Let's say they had, a very dysfunctional parenting growing up. They may not even realize it
Oh,
because a lot of times they don't, right? They think
yeah.
that's just, it's been normalized.
Well,
So,
it is to them.
right,
It
it's
is
normalized
to
to
them.
them, right?
Yeah.
And so, but what you're saying is that doesn't necessarily mean they're stuck in their, belief system or trying to go through their history, that as an adult, they can be curious, look at it, and change behaviors in
Yeah.
certain ways, right?
I
Okay.
think every human being has times in their lives where it is clearly an indicator that they need to look at themselves emotionally and their beliefs and the physical aspect of what they're doing in their lives. Many times we ignore it, but it comes back around. Like I said, there are many times in our lives where it goes, "Hey, remember me over here? I really think you'd be doing well if you'd listen to me." I mean, it's
Yeah.
like persistent, but but here's the key: we have to feel safe enough.
Mm.
We have to. People ask me all the time, how do you get your clients? Do you know that in the 45 years I've done this, I may have gotten 5 clients off of my website, let's say. Most of my clients have been word of mouth. And
Wow.
the first thing because of course I'm going to ask, how did you hear about me? Well, so and so told me, my, very good friend, and I trusted her. Bingo.
Yes.
He felt safe enough to risk because they knew me somehow at a level that that other person needed to trust.
Right. That's
So, and that's the way most of us operate. We look for somebody who knows somebody or who can recommend or at least say, I've heard good things. We don't just walk into somebody's office that we don't know anything about.
no.
Okay. Okay. That's the human safety system that's sort of built in.
Okay. So knowing these three things, it's the physical feelings and your thoughts and beliefs. Let's say
Mhm.
we're in our adulthood and we are in a disagreement with either our partner, our coworker, our
Oh, yeah.
in-law, outlaw, whoever it is. And we're in a disagreement and it gets pretty heated, or they're late, or they don't pick up after themselves, or whatever it is. And it's something that makes you really hot, right? Really
Yeah.
angry. How do you, with this practice that you're talking about, right? How do how do we get unstuck? Because two angry people, I don't think are able to pull apart enough,
No,
right? Okay, so
you're
can you talk
exactly
us
right.
through
You're
that?
exactly right. Um, this is sort of the repetitive. We learn with a little bit of stress, but when it's too much stress, we shut down. And then we can also, and that might move us into the comfort zone of just what's familiar. Okay. But we
Mhm.
also learn, we also can be deterred from learning if we are overwhelmed. All right.
Okay.
So the whole idea of familiarity is knowing what I have experienced, knowing in my body, knowing in my feelings, knowing in my beliefs what I have learned. And you asked a while ago, is this just not normal for most of us at that point? It is. It is, because that is where we've lived. This is where our parents, the people that we trusted and relied on, and they're right. No matter what they're doing, we believe they're right.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so when you reach puberty, the executive function comes on and you're able to say, oh, wait a minute, you know, that family doesn't do what my family does. What gives? Okay. So when, if I am arguing with somebody, there's a reason, right? There's number one. What am I arguing about again? What is it that I'm wanting this other person, or what is it that I'm needing? We don't often ask that question, but if I'm already angry, literally feeling a lot of anger, you need to walk away. You need to take a break. You need to be able to say time out, even if that's all you use is the symbol time out. It stops, because you're not going to get anywhere but escalated if you keep trying when you're angry. Any kind of argument that has escalated is not, you are not going to get any kind of cooperation or traction for solution.
Well, is that because the each person, the two people, let's say there's two people involved in this exchange, they're each trying to get the other one to either see their point of view or do what they want them to do, and so you're not able to look at yourself, because neither, is that why?
You
Or
can't look at anything at that point other than the
right,
fact that
okay,
you're mad and this is what you want and this is not happening and this is your history.
okay,
Okay. Most of the time, what we're talking about is my history is right here, and I want you to understand me, and you're not, and I'm going to keep pushing until you do. And
Okay.
you're doing something similar on the reverse side. That's why it doesn't work. It's why you can't really resolve something. But if I know, listen, anger's a good feeling. A lot of people think anger's bad. It's not. But if I'm angry in a way that says something needs to change, that's the message for anger. Is something needs to change here. Something's off. Then I'm going to present things in such a way that I'm not blaming you. I'm not needing you to do it for me. There's not any basic need that I'm trying to fulfill in this. And if you can't hear that, because oftentimes one person can approach it that way and the other person is very angry and is not hearing anything, the solution is still the same at that moment. You need to take a break. Let's come back at not you. I'm saying I'm,
Right, right, right.
whoever's involved needs to take the break.
Right.
Yeah.
What if you're trapped on an airplane and you can't get off and you
You
can't get
just
away from
zip,
it?
you
Okay.
silence. I tell people don't engage. We feel obligated. Here's history again. It's not nice to ignore people when they're talking to you. It's not nice. It's not Christian. It's not the
Right.
no. That's a whole nother. That's social adaptivity. I don't have. We do need to be able to adapt, but again, if you're an adult, you can resist this and make a different response. You can have a different response. I don't expect that of children. If one kid hauls off and hits the other, I promise you the other one's going to hit back
Mhm.
most of the time. Or go tattletale.
Right.
That's a huge word, tattletale. We can't really do that. We do. We can go and gossip. We can go and say, you wouldn't believe what Nancy did the other day. Oh my gosh, I was so mad. That kind of thing. um, the solution to this is really it takes two people to resolve a conflict. It takes one to table it.
Mm.
And tabling it means shoving it under the carpet, ignoring it, not coming to a workable conclusion for the two of you,
Right. Not
um,
resolving. Right.
not resolving. Yeah,
Right.
and resolving, if you are placating, that is not resolving. If you're giving in most of the time, that is not resolving. If you just turn around and walk away and say, I'm over it, that is not resolving.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Um,
we're doing that. We take a time out, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, whatever it is, to cool off. And then what should both parties be doing ideally, right? Like this is ideal
mhm,
behavior we're talking about.
right.
Ideally, what is recommended for each individual to be doing during that cooling off period before they come back together to take it off, put it back on the table.
Well, the number one thing that is at the top of the list for the steps, there are all kinds of different steps, is you use I statements, not you.
Ah,
You made me feel. If you hadn't done this, you never do that. You never listen to me. Always, never, should, ought, you, them. Those are words that's not really going to resolve. It's
okay.
blaming and putting off on. That's you have no control, as you said earlier. So if I'm really using that time wisely, I'm looking at, okay, what's going on with me? Why am I so insistent on this? Most of the time, if you start looking, it's going to go back to a basic childhood need, emotional need that was not adequately um, met in a predictable, safe way. And
Okay.
it can be things like reassured, heard, valued, Lots of people who didn't, their opinion wasn't valued, respected, belonging, being liked. Now, those things are incredibly important to the human being psyche. If I don't feel like I'm of value and that I belong or that I have, and I don't mean to everybody, oh my gosh, no. Listen, I've got people out there who love me to death, and I have people out there who wish I'd never been born. You know, I mean, I mean, I've had people say, "Oh no, no, no! I do not want to talk to Teresa. I do not want to hear what she has to say. I do not want to go there." Hey, everybody, I totally respect that. I don't, you know, it isn't. It isn't for everybody. Everybody has their own style of what and how they need to hear things. So, um, I think the I statement though helps me be able to know what my intention is. That
Oh,
word is so important. What do I want out of this argument? And if I know in reflection that I need to know that you respect me, okay, now I have something I can work with. What
yeah,
is that about? Is it because you dismissed me? Is it because you don't usually remember what I ask? You don't listen. I mean, you go through the list of things that put you in a place to say, I am not respectable. I'm not one who is going to be looked for in with any confidence.
right.
Those behaviors help you understand why you feel that way. That person may not be someone that you can resolve things with. That person may be willing to listen. When you say things like, okay, I have a different perspective, that's another step. Perspective.
Okay. Yes, I had a friend that was confiding in me the other day about an exchange she had with somebody. And the phrase she used was, that was not my experience.
Exactly.
And I was like, whoa, where'd you
See,
get
that's a
that?
great
Okay.
example of not engaging, also. I didn't go silent to not engage, but really what I'm saying there is I'm not saying you're wrong, but it wasn't my experience. I didn't remember it that way, is another one. Or I'm going to have to think about that because for the life of me, I don't remember that. So it, and it also, you need to be able to have a certain amount of trust that if
Mhm.
you are really working on conversations and resolutions, that you're both going to be there for the long haul and the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Because if I can't trust that someone is going to come back and talk to me about being angry or talk to me about what they felt like I did or weren't sure or check it out, we have nothing to build on.
Right.
See, we have nothing to build on. We have our histories that we're trying to enmesh, which you can do, but it doesn't create closeness. This other does.
Okay. Right.
Okay. This
But
other does, if I'm going to be honest about what I'm experiencing and feeling and that I want to be here to resolve this. I want to be here. I'm not trying to get you to change. I'm trying to this relationship is a being in between two people.
yes. So you're invested. You're invested
Absolutely.
in
You
this.
are,
Yeah. Okay.
even if I'm scared, even if I'm guilty, even, all those old feelings and even some new, I'm going to be there until it is not healthy.
Mm.
See, I may get it and I may keep coming back. I want one more time. It's going to be different this time. I know it's going to be different this time. I've changed how I'm doing things. And that can be also part of that familiar, I'm going to get you to change by my behavior. That's control, by the way. We don't
Right.
look at it that way sometimes, but that is control. If I can change, then I expect you, to give me what I want or to be happy.
Right. So, I mean, the one of the overreaching themes here is, the only thing I can really control or manage is myself and not the other, and how I respond
Right.
to whatever's happening to me, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
And that's not easy, because I promise you, when you are in that fight or flight, now I'm talking about childhood. For a child, when a parent comes in and they've had a long day and they're tired, and the child is so excited to see him, and they run up and grab him and hug their leg, and I'm excited, and the parent sort of does that gruff, curt response of, well, give me a minute, or pushes them aside. To the child, that is rejection. Bottom line,
Okay.
it's rejection. I was excited to see him. They don't want to see me. They just pushed me away. They just gave me that curt. So there was, now the parent may come back and again do repair with that. But if that's a pattern, that the child will learn not to do that, even if they feel that.
Right.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's part of what happens. And if I'm talking to somebody else and I am excited to with this idea and excited to see them, and I get a curt, dismissive, non-supportive response, that very same feeling that gets stuck in our nervous system comes screaming to the forefront, and you can hardly think.
So it comes screaming to the forefront. Like, give me an example of how that would happen
How
in
it
a
would look, how it
situation.
would look. I might get quite, depends on what my coping behavior was as a child with that, but
Okay.
you can get quiet and not say anything else, or you can be angry and grab your papers and stomp out. You can try to say, okay, well, I'll change that. I mean, you try to please and placate. You get quiet and you're passive aggressive.
Mhm.
And so behavior, and those are all responses to a situation like that.
So something could trigger a reaction like one of those you listed if, and if I'm using this same thread of example of excited to see the parent, right? If you're getting off an airplane and you get in the car and you're so excited and that person's on the phone and they're
Right.
like, and they're
Yes.
motioning without smiling and going, oh my gosh, or they didn't hang up as
Right.
quickly as they could
Oh
and
yeah.
you're driving the whole way, right? Those, I'm trying to think of adult
Oh yeah.
situations.
No, those are adult situations.
Okay.
Even because I can do the same thing. I can be excited to see someone and they're not excited to see me. And all I'm saying is that childhood experience that I had and have had many times, I'm almost wired to get rejected. You see, that's what's familiar in that pattern. But I rise over that. I want something different. So now I'm going to try it again. Excited. I'm an adult. And the same thing happens when they're on the phone, or they can't get off, or they don't come back to it, or they don't look at you. Yeah. Oh yeah. The same. Only now I'm an adult, but I still have those little girl feelings I had back then when it all started. See, and that's
So,
what gets
what would
stuck.
a healthy response be? You know, what would, I guess, the ideal response be, knowing that this is a trigger for you? How do you how do you operate then in
Yeah.
the face of?
Well, when you understand this whole concept of what I learned in my family is what I'm going to be doing today in my relationships, what I learned about life and men, women, work, all that, and how to cope with it. If I understand those patterns and I understand those emotions, I also understand what belongs to me today and what belongs to somebody else that has nothing to do with me.
Mm,
Okay.
okay,
Which
yeah,
is sounds very easy when we're talking about it. It's not real easy when you're in the middle of that emotion.
yeah, yeah, to
you know,
self-regulate, right,
yes,
right,
self-regulating. And
right.
so there is a practice. Some things we have to practice. When we recognize that it doesn't belong to 2025, or it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the person that just dismissed me, had nothing to do with me, feels like it, but it isn't,
Right.
then I'm able to shift and go, okay. And it's almost like you have an internal conversation with yourself. You get to say the things that you needed to hear when you were younger, because you have some people in your life that can say those things, hopefully, but sometimes you don't. And that's when I say again, find yourself someone who professionally can teach and help you reach that point. We
Okay.
cannot do it on our own.
So what does
You,
that person in the car do? If let's say it's me and you and I'm
yeah,
driving and you
yeah,
get in from the airport and you're so excited to see me and I'm on the phone and
yeah.
it's a work call. It's not just hey, and I'm
Mhm.
saying and you have a trigger for that. What would you ideally tell yourself in that situation?
Okay, that's all right. Very good. I would say, you know what? She's busy, and she is got stuff going on over there. We'll wait. I'm now including that emotional part of me.
Oh,
I'm recognizing that emotional part of me, that I'm not going to say I shouldn't feel that way. Don't feel that way. You're being infantile to feel that way. No, that's not it. It's being able to say, yeah, I know you're disappointed. It's okay. We'll get to it in here in a minute. Let's just wait until she can get off, and we'll engage then. We'll talk. We'll be excited to see her then.
okay.
And you may get back to that excitement. You may not. Depends on how well you know each other. It
Right.
depends on what the investment is. Because somebody else could get in the car who's brand new, and you're picking them up and you're not available to say, hi, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Did you have a nice flight? There's nothing for this person who doesn't know you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so that is on you. Both times it's on you.
Right.
It's your issue with the telephone. It's not mine. It's mine to know that, yeah, it's not what I wanted. It's not what I expected, but that's okay. That's
Okay.
okay. And if it continues, yes, I'll say, Nancy, could you put down the damn telephone for a minute?
Okay, no, that's good too. 'Cause now it's okay to assert yourself if it's a pattern
Yeah.
and to express yourself, but not to get triggered to the
Yeah.
point where you can't think clearly, right?
Right.
Okay.
Let me just tell you, we don't have a whole lot of control over triggers. Okay.
Mm,
We have control over how we respond to the triggers.
right.
And that's if we've had practice. I'm going to go back to that word. Practice and processing and talking with somebody and allowing those feelings to be really you accepting your own emotions is one of the toughest things I think that happens in therapy.
Mm,
We don't want to cry. We don't want to be angry. We don't want to have to look at the hurt. We don't want to be babies about it. We
sure.
don't, we want to be stoic, and we want to be able to control everything. And whew, most of us have spent a lifetime trying to be stoic or control or to change, and we're not going to do it under our own steam.
Okay.
We have to be open. We have to be willing to allow someone to teach us that there may be another way, or to help us to feel safe, to be in a situation. Sometimes it just takes the presence of someone to be
Okay.
able to hold space. I know that's kind of a therapeutic term, but it makes sense when you think it's just, I need somebody else in the room. This is something parents have a hard time with. Their kids, when they're upset, really just need them to be there. They don't need them to speak a word.
Mhm. Right. Just
Just be there.
sit in it
Just,
with them. Yes.
yes. And then when everybody is calmed down and they're more open to a conversation, then you might say, wow, you were really, really upset about that. Can you tell me what happened?
Right.
And that's only if they're ready to talk about it.
Okay.
So it's I'm saying practice because we do have to have something to put in its place, or you'll go back to what's familiar.
Okay.
If
Well,
I
it's
don't,
sort of like riding a bike, I
yeah,
guess, in the sense
totally.
if you don't keep practice, first you have training wheels on. So, you've
Hmm.
got your therapist or whatever you're learning, and then you take them off and you will crash some. But eventually, if you keep practicing, ideally, if something does come up and you're triggered, you don't fall over and crash. You may get
But
wobbly, right,
yeah,
and wobble some, but you're able to get back on course better.
yes, you are. But you also still have falls. Look at our Olympic skiers, speaking of
Oh,
Winter
yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah.
How many times have they skied that very slope, that very course? And some of them wipe out and some of them break bones.
Right, right. No, that's a great example. Yeah.
And so I can't even fathom the number of hours of practice that people do who are really masters at something.
Right,
um, they don't think about it. They love it, and that's where that's really also important, is the desire to be different, the want to. People who are Star Wars lovers remember the scene where Luke is working with Yoda on the island, and Yoda says, "You've got to face your fear," and goes back in, and he sees Darth Vader there and opens it up, and it's his face, his Luke Skywalker's face.
yeah,
So
right,
it's his fear he's having. He's afraid of Darth Vader, who wouldn't
right,
be, and yet it's him. It's a part of him. And that's what we're afraid of, is that we're going to see that, yeah, I can be enraged. I
right,
swore I'd never do that. I swore I'd never do that. I lived with a father who did that. Why would I want to do that?
right, right.
But we're human,
I
and
love
we
that.
all have those abilities
Right.
to be kind and loving and also hateful. But if I haven't looked at what hateful looks like, oh gosh, I promise you, I'm not going to be very effective in really being kind to other people.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
God, this has been amazing. Teresa, if you could leave our listeners with, one bit of advice as they, listen to this and look at their own lives,
Hmm.
a take home for them, what would that be?
It's pretty simple. It's a little exercise
Okay.
that, if the way you just said it, they're looking at their lives, they're wanting to learn and get to know. Okay? That's what you just said. So there's some points there they've already answered. Make a list, get a piece of paper, and make 3 columns. The first column, right heading, is feelings. The second are physical sensations. And the third, needs. Needs, right? Needs.
Okay.
We're looking to develop a vocabulary. This is like learning a foreign language. Okay. So we're looking for words that describe feelings: happy, sad, mad, glad, hurt, secure, insecure. The list is endless almost.
Right.
So what's most important is it's one word. It's not, I feel like I'm really tired of so and so. That's not a feeling. That's a thought. Okay. But we're starting by trying to help understand with words what this physical sensation might be, which is the second column.
Okay.
Physical sensations are cramping in your stomach, or tightness in your chest, or shallow breathing, or quick breathing, or sweaty palms, or cold hands, or, you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
a physical, a headache, tired eyes, my whole arms tingling or hands tingling. These are physical sensations. And so when you have, okay, you've got those 2 columns, and don't push yourself. I mean, if you think of 10, if you think of 5, yay, and you can't think of any more, I go out and ask some of your kids, give me some feeling words. Your friends, give me some feeling words, add them to your list. What are you doing there? I'm making a vocabulary list of feelings. I'm serious. People love it if you really, okay. Same thing with physical sensations. That one's a little harder, truthfully. Then the third column, needs. Now you can chat GPT this. Okay,
Okay.
what are basic human physical needs, emotional needs, spiritual needs, mental needs, and sexual needs? 5 significant areas for the human being.
Okay.
Okay, and of course, there is no right or wrong here. It just is, are you learning something? Okay, if you're learning how to identify emotions, oh yeah, the last part is 4 or 5 times a day. 1 or 2, I'll take 1 or 2. Just stop and go. You're at a light. Stop and go, okay, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? I'm not really sure. Do I have any physical sensations? Well, yeah, my chest is a little tight. I'm a little anxious. Bingo! There's the feeling. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it really can be kind of fun. And if you have grade school kids, basically, you can play a game. You can play a game with it. You make up the game. Okay, when your stomach is tight, what do you think you're feeling? I'm hungry. Well, that's not that you might be, but that's another physical sensation. What's an emotion that it could be? You see what I'm doing?
Yes. But
So
then what do
we
you do with all that? You've got this piece of paper with all these columns
oh
with
my
words.
gosh, you use it when you're sitting there angry with someone.
Okay. What do you do? I'm
Because
all mad
I'll
at
tell you,
you.
because here's the thing. If I know what's going on in my body and it's saying, okay, red alert here, then the needs column over here, Nancy, the needs column. What do I need? If I'm angry and my chest is tight, I'm scared. It doesn't matter how tough I may appear to be. I'm scared. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that they are not going to like me. I'm afraid they're going to start calling me names and judging me. And the need is what there? Safety, reassurance, information,
Mhm.
it might be, a good friend to give you perspective.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And so
Okay.
that's the practice, is being able to use those, first identifying, but then being able to use it as information. And of course that's a whole nother time. I mean, there's a whole conversation that goes with that,
Right. Okay.
but
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we'll have to dig into that maybe one time. But
Yeah,
this is
that's yes, because that would be another step. I'm just hoping it's clear that people understand sort of why it's important, because it really does start telling you and helping you understand why you do things that you didn't understand. Doesn't necessarily get rid of them, but it sure helps you down the path of finding another way of responding.
yes, and therefore helping your relationships with people.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Ah, golly, this is again a wonderful learning session with Theresa Moore, everybody. And we look forward to other visits to the She Laugh podcast
Thank
and to
you.
learning more about your conversations with women that you're working on, which is it's about building connections. Or you want to describe
Yeah,
it a little?
it's sharing with each other. I think women, and I'm not going to say more than men, but I think they do enjoy processing things out loud, and women have tons of wisdom to share with
Mhm.
each other, and they don't usually sit down and do that. And so
Okay.
the conversation is women sharing with women in order to build community, even if you are spread out all over this United States or this world for that matter.
Love it.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
we're looking
excited about
forward
it.
to that, and we'll keep everybody posted once you're ready to
All
put
right.
this latest endeavor out there. But Theresa Moore, thank you for being here today. We
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me. All right.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us on the She Laughs podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to She Laughs. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend who might need a little courage or a reminder that she's not alone? every share helps more women find their inner cool girl and kick fear to the curb. You can find links to our guests, watch full episodes on YouTube, and connect with me on social at She Laughs Podcast Official, all in the show notes. And remember, the dream inside of you means something. Take the first step. Be brave. God's got your back. And girl, you've got this.